Hey there, my name is Mackenzie and welcome to my small little corner of the internet. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Gogo Nihon Akamonkai Online Japanese Intermediate Language course. I'll be sharing my personal experience with it as well as the pros and cons and whether I recommend it to others or not. I do want to briefly explain my history with learning Japanese as well as why I took the course, as I do think that that's important. I would also like to quickly clarify that this is not a sponsored video in any way. I paid for the course just like anyone else would. I just figured I'd do a review while I was at it, since I'm doing it anyway. Just sort of like a two birds with one stone sort of deal. Alright, so my history with Japanese. I've actually technically been self-studying Japanese for 14 years now. Yep, you heard that right, 14 years of my life. And so because I haven't had a lot of opportunities to practice the language in real time with people who natively speak it or speak it well enough to practice with them, I've always kind of stayed within the same area, never really getting beyond that. My reading and writing was around N4, my speaking and listening comprehension around N5, and my vocabulary knowledge probably sits around N3 at the time of starting this course. So one of my goals for this year is to finally apply for a language school in Japan. But one of the requirements for a student visa and for a lot of these schools is that you need 150 hours of learning under your belt. After 13 years, I definitely have that, but I can't prove it. I have my notebook. I started this one in 2015, this notebook. But I have another one from earlier than that. And I'm feeling very overwhelmed, to be honest. I didn't study it at all in 2022. So it was like spring 2021, so it's almost been 2 years since I properly studied. But even then I wasn't really doing like proper studies. I was just studying my magazines and practicing vocab and stuff like that, but it wasn't like this, where I'm learning grammar and practicing grammar and doing sentence structures and all that, like practicing kanji. I haven't done that in about 2 years, if not more. I just got so burnt out after like 10 years of learning the language and feeling like I wasn't getting anywhere. It felt overwhelming at first, but it's starting to click. So today I am resuming my studies. I'm going to be doing this course because I have to. But also I think it'll be good for me. It's better to be overwhelmed now and prepared later than overwhelmed later and unprepared at the same time. You know what I mean? So that's what we're doing today. Right, because E adjectives, you take the I off and it becomes ka, tataku narimasu. It be genki na. And na becomes ni when you have narimasu. Right, this feels familiar. It's like a crash course. Having to refresh my brain. It's been quite a few years since I covered these things. ここのグラフをもっと押していく。ここのグラフをもここのグラフをもっとここのグラフをもっと大きくしてください。ここのグラフをもっと大きくしてください。この文の色を赤にしてください。このグラフここの文の色を赤にしてください。文の色。Because there isn't a set curriculum or any specific test that I was studying for that would have very specific content and criteria. My knowledge can't be confirmed or measured, and there's really no proof of my studies aside from my extensive amounts of filled notebooks over the years. Good morning. Today is one of those days. It's cloudy, it's shitty out, it's cold. I very much feel like this. I'm just not in it. But I have oatmeal. That's good oatmeal. I could have done an interview over like Zoom or something in order to prove my level, or at least the amount of studying I've done through displaying my notebooks and things like that. But that felt, I felt a little uncomfortable with that. It felt a little less concrete, so to speak. There's no guarantee by the end of that interview that they're going to A-okay it, you know what I mean, and say, yeah, she's done 150 hours of self-study. You know, I could go through that whole process and they still would not consider that good enough. And so I decided I would do the course, because at least if I did the course, there was a guarantee that it would be accepted. So today is April 26th. I did my first homework assignment today and it didn't go well. I got 16 out of 20, which I guess technically isn't bad, but I had a few lucky guesses in there. So my confidence level doing the homework was pretty low. It was for day 1 and day 2's material, but I actually couldn't remember much of day 1. And when I went back and was reviewing day 1 this morning, I couldn't even remember what these grammar points were for or how they're supposed to be used. Hi, 少しかけられるようになりました。That's what I said. はい、もっと少しかけられるようになりGod. はい、やっと少しかけられるようになりました。かけられるようになりました。はい、やっと少しかけられるようになりました。Oh yeah, that's enough of that. And that's sort of the problem that I'm running into with learning Japanese in Japanese with very little, if any, English explanations. It's like being thrown into the deep end. I wasn't prepared. I did like their little test thing that determines which course you should take, and I was supposed to take the intermediate, but that's because it's basing it off of your answers of their questions and not like anything to do with your ability to understand how the material is being taught to you. I hope that makes sense. So like technically, because my knowledge of Japanese is technically intermediate, I know a lot of the material already. I can recognize it, especially in multiple choice, which is exactly what the test was multiple choice. But when it comes to actually being able to understand spoken Japanese and Japanese explanations, I don't have as much experience with that. So it's a weird position to be in. I feel like I'm too advanced for the beginner material, and it would be a waste of money to basically be learning things I already know, but at the same time I'm not advanced enough for their intermediate course. Not necessarily because of the material, but the way that it's taught. I hope that makes sense. So that's a problem I'm running into, and I really hope that I can get the hang of it because I have very little time. I have until like the 1st of June, that's my goal, to finish this course by the 1st of June, because I don't actually know how long I have. Just want to make a mental note of something while I'm thinking about it. With the grammar homework, like they'll give you the question. Actually, they don't even ask a question, they just give you like examples of what they're looking for, and then you're supposed to just figure it out for the rest of what they give you. Let's say they'll have in brackets the word, and then you're supposed to write in the conjugated form that fits that sentence for whatever you've learned. A lot of the time, I will, because I don't have a lot of context, I'll conjugate it based off of the example. So if the example is in past tense, that's how I'll conjugate it, even though for some of them it's not supposed to be conjugated that way, it's supposed to be conjugated differently, but I don't realize that. And so that's kind of become an issue for me. Sometimes I get things wrong because I misunderstood what they wanted from me. It's just really sort of annoying sometimes, because I finish it and I'm like, yeah, I did that really well. I did so good there. And then I realize I didn't do very well at all. But maybe it's a skill issue on my part. Maybe I'm just not reading the questions carefully enough to realize that I need to conjugate it a certain way. But a lot of the time I still feel like the sentences make sense, even if I've conjugated it the way that I have. Hey, come on. Just figured I would take Wiley for a walk after like 5 hours of doing day 16 and 17. Just thought I would share my thoughts on what I was thinking about while doing the grammar homework for today. I also could have taken the JLPT. If you've already taken it, then you're good to go. If you do want to study abroad, that counts towards your 150-hour study requirement, so no worries there. But for me, I've never taken the JLPT. I've actually never had an interest in taking it. It's never been on my priority list to begin with, but I could have taken it instead and only paid $100 or so in order to do it. But the problem is that currently in my province, the 2 universities that do the JLPT, they used to offer it in both the summer and the winter. It was 2 times a year, but after COVID, they had like 1 or 2 years where they didn't do it at all. And then when they did start doing it again, it was only the winter time the last time I checked, which meant that I could not do it because I have to apply in September. I can't wait till December when they do the JLPT to take it. I have to have all of my stuff ready to go, and that certificate, that 150-hour study requirement, that has to be met already when I apply in September for April of next year. So it just didn't fit the timeline. It wasn't gonna work, and so I decided to just do the course, even though it was the much more expensive choice. Now that that's covered and out of the way, let's talk about this course. I purchased the course back in December when it went on sale for New Year's. The thing about this course is that prior to this, it was about $1,000 Canadian. I think for New Year's it was like 15–20% off, something like that. And this course very rarely goes on sale. Like, they normally don't go over 10% off for their sales. Like, I've never seen it more than that personally. I've been following them for 4 years or 5 years now, and I've never seen their courses, their online courses, go less than that. So this was kind of a big deal. 15%, I believe it was the most I'd ever seen it. But also this was the least expensive this course was ever going to be at the time, because after this sale was over, they were raising the prices of the course, which meant that even if I ever did see 15% come around again, it still was going to be more expensive than it was in this moment. So I jumped on it, even though I wasn't entirely sure if that was something I wanted to do or not. I was still sort of kind of almost on the fence, but seeing that price drop and knowing that it was only going to get more expensive afterwards, I just kind of took the opportunity as it presented itself. So I paid $850 in total for the course. The $50 of that is for PayPal fees, because they take those apparently, which is awesome. And then from the minute that payment went through, I then had it for the next 6 months. So I had this course available to me from January 1st until July 1st, 2023. The way it works is that each week they unlock the next week of material, 5 days a week, totaling 60 days over 12 weeks. They encourage you to do it the way that they would do it in person. 1 day of material each day, Monday to Friday, but you're allowed to do it however works best for you. It's meant to be flexible, so there are no deadlines, except for the 6-month availability of the entire course. I decided initially to wean myself in by studying Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but realized this course was going to be more difficult than I thought. Up until now, I've learned Japanese with English resources and explanations, so jumping into a course that teaches Japanese in Japanese with English only as a subtitle option on some videos was a big change for me. I haven't properly studied in 2 years since I've been trying to get to Japan to study there, and it felt useless to self-study as much as I've been doing over the years with very little improvement. So I was kind of rusty with studying because I haven't done it in 2 years. I also haven't been in school for like 8 years, so getting back into sort of almost like a school environment and doing classes again and having homework even, like these things were just sort of, it was a lot of change all at once is what I'm saying. I also had like a lot of New Year's bullshit happening at the time. Like this was like January 1st when I started, so I had a lot of New Year's stuff going on. I put way too much on my plate and I got majorly burned out, so that didn't help things either. When you start the intermediate course, they give you a PDF of all of the words, like the vocabulary that was learned in the beginner course, as well as what grammar they covered, which is super helpful to know what was covered and what wasn't. I ended up taking a break after week 2 to make flashcards for the 1,000 plus word list from the beginner course, only to never use them. Most of the words in the list I already knew, so I don't even know why I bothered doing this. I should have just made flashcards of the words I didn't already know or wasn't super familiar with, instead of wasting weeks of my life making these flashcards for hours a day. Done. Oh my god, that took forever. Between my parents selling their home and prepping to move house, filming and editing a bunch of big and small video projects, and making art, which is my main job, I had a lot on my plate, and I ended up getting so burnt out and didn't return to the course as intended. I think it's important to just take a moment to mention here that I do have ADHD, like actually diagnosed. Like that is important to know, like formally diagnosed once as a child and twice as an adult. So I think I was almost too ADHD for this course. So the fact that I had so much time to do this course and no structure other than what I create for myself was actually not super great for me. The longer I went without doing it, the more anxious I felt about it, but that paralyzed me, and then I couldn't bring myself to do it. My brain decided it wanted to have hyperfixations for other projects and play Tears of the Kingdom instead. That cycle of anxiety, wanting so badly to do this course, knowing that I really should be doing it, and then feeling too anxious to do it because of that, kind of continued until mid-May when I finally pulled myself together and threw myself into doing nothing but this course. ADHD sucks is what I'm trying to say, and if you have ADHD, this is a warning that this course might not work super well for you. I'll get to that more in a minute, but by June I was spending about 4 to 5 hours doing 2 to 3 days of material a day to try to catch up, and due to a depressive slump that just hit me like a train in mid-June, I barely finished the material before the deadline. But I did get it done, and that's what matters. So today is day 40 overall, and I'm on day 50. As of today, I'm at 74% complete. My forehead looks huge on camera. I don't know why. I swear to God, it's not like this in person. Anyway, so today we're going to be doing day 50, day 51, day 52, and day 53, and if I can, day 54, if I can stretch it. It's a lot of work in one day, but I have until the 1st of July, but because of the time zone difference, I want to be done before June 30th because like I wouldn't want to think that I have June 30th to do it, but that would be July 1st in Japan, and if they're going by the Japan time, then I have like one less day to do it. I would rather be safe than sorry and be done early than not have enough time to finish. Alrighty, let's talk about the pros and the cons. Let's break it down. So for pros, the first pro would definitely be the fact that you're given so much time to complete the course and the flexibility to decide for yourself what your study schedule will be and how you'll complete the material. It also covers a wide range of grammar and vocabulary, so you're getting a lot in this course. This course also has a lot of video conversation footage, so you're hearing a lot of natural Japanese spoken by real people in real life, realistic sort of situations. So it's not the kind that sounds like stiff and unnatural, like someone's reading off a script a lot of the time. These skits are also very entertaining sometimes, which is a bonus. The problem is that a lot of these pros are a double-edged sword and are also cons. Because you're given so much time to do this course however you like, you really need to be good at time management and self-discipline. My ADHD ass obviously struggles with this. Had I put less on my plate from the start and really pushed myself to maintain the habit of studying and keeping within a routine, I think this would have worked a lot better for me. こちらのファイルをメールでご送りしてもいいでしょうか？ファイルをメールでお送りしてもいいでしょうか？それがね。で、起きました。Okay, so 会議の理論は昨日準備しますご準備しておきました。資料は昨日ご準備しておきました。部長に渡しますはずなんですけど。I just saw a few drops of rain. Shit. Gotta get inside before it downpours. It's currently 10:49, so I got up to day 53, so that's not too bad. 今朝私が会社に来た時、もう佐藤さんが来ていました。来ています。No, 来ていました was correct. Okay, third practice. And then I can freaking go to bed. Obviously, that's easier said than done with ADHD. So if you struggle with this aspect of ADHD yourself and you don't have someone to hold you accountable, like a study buddy or a family member or friend who can check in for the progress that you're making and maintaining those routines, this is going to be really tough for you. Also, if you're someone who's never studied Japanese before this, or you're not super familiar with self-study methods, this might be difficult too, because they leave you to your own devices and they don't give you any direction or any help with how you're supposed to use the material provided, which actually brings me to the next con. You're given a lot of grammar in this course, but a lot of the material is not given an in-depth explanation, which means I had to often go outside of the course to use free resources like Take Kim's Grammar Guide or Tofugu articles in order to understand the grammar that was being taught. I don't know what the purpose, like what it is that I'm being taught sometimes, so I actually had to Google them and make notes in English about just like to wrap my head around some of the grammar points. Some of them were obvious, but there's two of them I still have to review because I actually don't know what the point of teaching me them was. It's not that you can't use other resources to help learn from, because even when I was in high school, it wasn't just when I learned in the classroom. I'd have to Google things all the time too. But because I am paying, like people buying this course would be paying over $1,000, it does kind of suck. For a course this expensive, I shouldn't need outside resources, let alone free outside resources, in order to understand the material that's being taught. They just give you stuff and expect you to understand it by context alone, and that just doesn't work most of the time. Okay, sorry, it's late. My hair looks like garbage, but this is, I'm in the middle of doing day 6, lesson 2, and this is a great example of what I was talking about. For the grammar slides for lesson 1, they spend the first part of this lesson teaching you the dishal is used for things that are likely to happen. So then in lesson 2, they then introduce sodes, which is reporting about what you've heard or read. So basically hearsay. And then they give you the grammar slide here. They just tell you that the grammar focus of this lesson is this, but they don't actually tell you what this is for directly. They just tell you what the topic of the video is, and you're supposed to just kind of gather that from context, that that's what this does. And then they further show you that by showing you this. So the second grammar slide, this one here, okay? So for the first two, the use of this shoal and the use of soldis, that made sense through context. Like I could figure that out on my own. But this, what is this? What is this? Like,
so I am confused.
They don't explain this. They don't explain what this is for. They don't explain what this means. They don't explain the significance of Niyoruto combined with soldis. So I thought that this meant, heard that it's going to be raining from night until tomorrow. I know that that's not, but I just, with my limited knowledge, that's what I thought that this was. But this being highlighted in red means that it's a grammar point, so that didn't make any sense. But then we get into video practice where they literally launch you into it. So they give you like words, right? And you have to put them together using the sentence structure they just gave you. And that's great, but when you don't understand what this actually means in terms of like what's being said when you use this, it makes this confusing. Does that make sense? I really hope that what I'm, because like I feel like I've tried to explain this like 4 or 5 times through this process of documenting my experience with the Akamonkai course, and I feel like I can never quite get it right in terms of how to explain this to people where I'm getting frustrated. Oh, this lighting is not doing me any favors. So I found another example. So this is for day 49, lesson 1. It's just one single grammar slide again where they give you like this and they read it out to you.
甘いものがお好きです。
And then they give it to you a second time.
鈴木さん
Usually they have like a grammar video explanation for the stuff that's kind of like more tough, I guess, that they gotta explain more. But for sometimes they'll just give you small things like this one where they don't explain it. They just they say, here you go. I guess the point is how to use adjectives in a polite way when speaking with someone above you. But like, I don't know, I would just love more context. I would love a little bit more explanation than just handing me something and then making me repeat it several times and then giving me a practice video. I don't know. I just find it weird. I put the English captions on so it's easy to get what I'm talking about. So this lesson's about the use of konna, sonna, anna with ni plus like the adjective, adverb, or verb, or the noun, I guess. And the explanation is just weird. By using ani, you can convey the idea that the other person you're speaking to also knows the holiday is longer than usual, and you are both surprised. Then they're talking about how they're concerned about this man over here that's eating a large amount of food. Apparently that's a lot. That's like 3 pieces of whatever that is. That's not even a lot, you know what I mean? But anyway, so they're judging this guy like hardcore, which is completely inappropriate. Like, it's really none of your business how much this guy's eating. Like, what are you worried for? Like, mind your business, you know what I mean? But anyway, you can convey your feelings of concern about the man whom you and the other person are looking at. I thought I kind of understood what was being said here, but then this fucked me up. It's used when you think what you see or find out is more than usual. Like, I feel like this complicated it. Literally, just this one sentence. That's it. Okay? That's all that was needed. You didn't need to do all that. I just think that sometimes they almost complicate the explanations a little bit, ironically, because they're trying to make them really simple and easy to understand, and they have a lot of examples, and like they're doing everything right, really, but sometimes the actual point of the grammar and what it's supposed to do in a sentence kind of gets lost in all of that. This is a very common thing with this course. Okay, so lesson 1 is just full of this because there's another one here. So this is for Aida, which I already know. It basically means during or while doing something else. And so they use this drawing to explain to you, like you're 2, that while you're on vacation, you stayed inside all day, and that these 2 things are happening at the same time, that they're both continuously happening. That's what during means. That's what during A, I was doing B. It means to be doing things at the same time, for two things to be simultaneously happening. They go on to give you several examples. This is fine, like this part is fine. I think you could get the meaning alone just from this. Then they go on to show us how this works when it's a verb instead of like an adjective or a noun. Same thing, using these sorts of things. But like this whole slide isn't necessary because it's obvious. This actually left me feeling a little bit like my brain felt too full or something. They could have just skipped from that second slide with all the different examples to this one and it would have been fine. Tofugu didn't actually have an article on this, unfortunately. I like the way they do the articles, but JLPT Sensei did, and like look at this. Literally in one sentence they got it. Like, that's all you need. If you struggle with listening comprehension, if you struggle with speaking ability, I personally found that this course doesn't help much with speaking or listening improvement. It would be nice if they had like little info boxes or something that you could just click and they would give you like hints and suggestions as to how best to use the material that they're providing for you, like the video practice material. It's not obvious how you're supposed to utilize that in the beginning, and sometimes it's not always clear what it is they want from you while you're doing those, and you end up having to watch it all the way through in order to try to understand by context what it is you're supposed to do. It's not helpful. I spent so much time trying to figure things out sometimes that it was just frustrating and it was just a large waste of time. If I have to memorize the answers to the video practices in order to get them correct, then that's not really teaching me anything. It's not teaching me how to use it myself. It's just teaching me how to memorize answers. That's not really effective learning strategy, I don't think. I'm doing day 34's material. When I was making flashcards for the beginner course, I remember mentioning that it was absurd that some of those things were translated incorrectly, or that there were like multiples of stuff. Like it's like they didn't look over stuff. It's fine, that was a small thing if that was like the only thing that was. But since then, I've found issues with other things. Like there's times where I'm doing like the grammar homework or tests or something. They'll have parts where they didn't finish it. Like sometimes like the grammar homework sheets that have like the answers for you to like double check your answers and stuff and to mark your own work won't have the answers on them. Or sometimes it's supposed to give you an example of how they want you to do the next question, but there's no example, like it's not filled out. And like those are small things and they're few and far between, so it's fine, but this is another example. They didn't even, and this one too. Like it's fine, but like for a course that's over $1,000, I just find it funny. Like it's silly. But yeah, I wish there was a way that I could like report that or something. Some parts of the course feel like filler, like almost like they didn't have enough material that they felt it was worth the price tag, so they kind of plumped it up with extra stuff that is really just useless and kind of a waste of time. A great example of this is the conversation notes that they have throughout the course. They're just completely useless, and as funny as I found it, it kind of treats students like they're dumb almost, and sort of comes across as a bit condescending actually. This one was hilarious, and this is I could not stop laughing at this.
日本人の会話で相手が話しているとき、あなたの話を聞いていますよ。続きをどうぞと伝えるためにたくさん使われます。友達の会話、プレインスタイルの会話を見てみましょう。どうぞ。ねえ、この近くにさ、
Like this is entirely too much.
駅の近くにさ、白い建物があるでしょ。その隣だよ。ああ、そっか。ありがとう。さあ、さ、銀行があるか知ってる？駅の近くにさ、白い建物があるでしょ。A さんも C さんも、とたくさん言っていました。A さんが話しているとき、C さんは、と言っていましたね。C さんが話しているときは、A さんが、
Like they're just beating this horse to death. Like it's just not necessary.
という相槌を言わないと、話を聞いていないとか、話に興味がないとか、話がわからない というメッセージになってしまいます。ですから日本人と話すときは少し気をつけてください。
Jesus, we're not stupid. Like, almost 8 minutes for that. Like, what a waste of time. I can't speak for languages outside of English or Japanese because those are the only 2 languages I speak in any way. But I think this is normal for most languages. It's not unique to Japanese in any way. And in English, we literally do this. I don't know why they have to teach it to us in this format and to do it so extensively, like as if we're stupid and don't know how to have conversations with other human beings. In terms of the flip video and like the community form aspect of this course, I actually did not utilize that at all. I didn't do any of the video stuff. I didn't introduce myself to the class. I didn't participate in any of the community forums. I never ever used it. This was partially due to a self-inflicted time restraint on my end, but I do think that if you are going to be paying for this course, considering how expensive it is, it would be best to utilize all aspects of the course, and I do think that there's probably value in those 2 parts of the course. I just didn't do it, so I can't speak on that specifically. Most of the material in this course is very easily found online with free resources. In fact, this whole course is actually based on the Mina no Nihongo series of textbooks. So if you have those available to you, or like you already own them, or it might actually be cheaper to just purchase those, that's exactly what this course is built off of. So that's easily accessible without the $1,000 price tag. Most of the material in this course is easily found online and is explained better by other resources, most of which, if not all, if you so choose, are free. The largest benefit of this course, in my opinion, and definitely for me personally, considering this is why I took it, is the fact that it gives you a certificate that you can then use towards your 150-hour study requirement if you're choosing to study abroad in Japan. Truthfully, if that hadn't been the case for me, I wouldn't have done the course. However, it did help me prep for schooling again, refresh a lot of the Japanese I'd forgotten, and gave me a lot of ideas of how I can self-study in the meantime until I study abroad in the spring of next year. So it wasn't a complete waste for me personally by any means. Hey, so it's currently 12:46. We're starting a bit late again today. I did a few things. One is that I just checked off anything that I had decided I would come back to later because I just simply don't have the time. Initially, when I first started the course, I intended on doing those properly and utilizing all of the different aspects of the course to the fullest extent, but I don't have time to do that now. Quizzes and the video stuff are the only things that I have not marked off on this course, which leaves us at 95% complete. There are 9 quizzes in total, mini ones. All of these are PDF format, just like with the homework assignments. Then they have 2 larger quizzes that are from 1 to 32 and then from 33 to 60, and those ones are actually done on the page itself. Out of the 9 smaller ones, I've done only 1. I did 1 to 6 at some point. Even though I could skip all of the quizzes and just check them off without doing them so that I can finish this course today and be done with it for sure, that feels wrong to me. I feel like it feels wrong, it bothers me. I want to do them. The more recent quizzes would be one thing because they're more fresh in my mind, but because I've pretty much binged this course in the span of just over a month, today's day 43, maybe somewhere around like 30, 37, 36 of those days have been within the last month and a half. And so I've really like stuffed my brain so full and like quickly moving on to the next thing so rapidly that I don't remember a lot of the earlier material. It's not as like marinated in my brain as it really should be if I'd done the course properly. I don't really have time to sit down and grind and review in order to do them, so what I'm going to do is just do it open book. However, I did download the PDF files, and at first I thought that you only had access to these things while you were having access to the course, but I had to send several things to my mom so that she could print them off for me at the library while she was out, and she could open those files just fine from where they're stored. So I assume I'll be able to do so as well when I'm no longer having access to this course. And so I just downloaded all of the quizzes so that I can print them out or redo them later as a part of my self-studies in the meantime, like probably months from now, to refresh my memory and just make sure, like, see what areas I keep struggling with, what things I don't remember very well. I'll just continuously use them as test material to test my knowledge. So that's the plan. I actually might go through the course and see if there's anything else I want to snatch before I don't have access to the course, but I was actually thinking about paying the extra $5 just to have it for July. So I'm not rushed to do that, but I do want to finish the course like before the deadline today. It's currently 5 o'clock. I've been doing this since 1. 1, 2, 3 quizzes left, and that's just the mini ones. It's not even the big ones. It's 7:33. I'm in the middle of doing the first quiz. I'm on question 22 of 30. I finished all of the mini quizzes. Those are done. They're out of the way. I realized halfway through I actually didn't have to, like, I could have just marked them off and then done them on my own later. But anyway, here we are. I spent, I think, 6 hours doing the quizzes and wasting my time. But let me show you something. So it's set up like a multiple choice, and they just tell you at the top what they want you to do. Sometimes it's one answer or just all that apply. But for this one, the first 3, A, B, and C, are all the exact same. So it doesn't matter which one you pick because they're all the same. But it's telling me that this one's wrong and this one was correct. So I don't know if they meant for these to be different and they messed up and put them 3 times. This is so frustrating. One thing I do want to say that I think is important is that, like, let's say there's like 3 different things that could be correct. Let's say out of the 4 of them, 3 of them are right. If you don't get every single one of them, if you only choose 2 of those answers, it's wrong. That's bullshit. That's a little bit better. Okay, I'm just gonna start hitting all these, just saying that I did it. I don't care to do the video stuff, like, so I'm officially done week 60, so end of course survey. Alrighty. So complete and continue, get my certificate. So it does not expire. Sweet. So freaking relieved. This course has been giving me anxiety since April. Oh my god. Okay, I'll deal with the rest of this later. I'm gonna go eat dinner and rest and not look at a single another piece of Japanese text for the rest of the evening. Bye. I deserve a treat. I actually deserve like 3 of these after everything I've been through, but whatever. So after you've completed the course, they do offer a $5 subscription monthly fee, or you can pay for the year as well, just all in one go, so that you can continue to access the course. I tried to sign up for this because due to my self-imposed time limit, I wasn't able to fully utilize a lot of the things that I think would have been helpful and I would like to be able to use in my self-studies over at least another month or 2, but my debit card was erroring, it wouldn't let me. So I reached out to them about it to see what that was about, and they told me that they only accept credit card. Yeah, I'm not getting a credit card for this, but also, like, it's weird that they don't have other options. That kind of cuts out a lot of people that now can't use this subscription service option. If I'm able to get access to my course again and I'm able to use the material, you know, I will mention it in a future video. I will update you guys on that, but in the meantime, it's not looking likely that I will, and so I just felt it was worth mentioning because some people might get to the end of their 6 months and still want to have access to that, and they don't tell you that it's credit card only. Like, that's not even mentioned at all when they send you an email about it near the end of your course, when they promote it after you finish the course as well. And so I just thought that I would mention it here so that you're aware in advance and prepared. 冬の間、雪を降って、ずっと雪を降って。冬の間、雪が多くて、こ I plan to do more videos about my journey with learning Japanese, including one about how to best use a course like this, and recommendations for schedule forming and resources to use alongside the Akamonkai course if you choose to do it, or even just for general study, even without a paid course. I might have ADHD and struggle with it, but it does not mean I'm not knowledgeable and don't have great advice to share. It just means I don't always follow my own advice personally. If you like videos about learning Japanese or about Japanese pop culture and entertainment, I plan to be doing more of that kind of thing moving forward, including stuff like study with me vlogs and chatty videos about what I'm reading, playing, listening to, watching, and enjoying. I also do a lot of art, journaling, and daily life vlog content. So if that sounds interesting to you, feel free to check out the rest of my channel to make sure that you like what you see before you commit to that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again in my next video.